Alrighty, and we're back with another cozy stream with the Blue Dog Owlin. In today's game, Death and Faeology. A special thank you to Mushroom Mallow for providing us access to this on the PC. It says here, in a world where the fae-touched fall prey to a sinister killer, only a faeologist can uncover the truth. A dark academia murder mystery visual novel with supernatural cases, interactive investigation, romanceable characters, and multiple endings set in the roaring 1920s New York. This game does have a demo available on Steam if you want to try it out yourself. I'll put a link to it in the chat right now. And if you're watching the VOD, I will put a link to the game in the VOD description below. But yeah, let's go check out this game. I don't know if they have any accessibility settings. Let's see. No, so I think just English for now. We'll do new game. What is your name? I guess Augustine. Grading first-year assignments can be such an exercise in patience. I ought to remind myself that Faeology is a relatively recent science, only a couple of decades old. This university, the only Faeology university in the whole country, was just finished being built in 1905. It is still barely acknowledged in the academic field. More importantly, I've got to keep in mind that children inherit their parents' prejudices and misconceptions. The human world has formed its own notion of fairies. Alas, I find myself unable to suppress a big sigh every time I read references to poisoned apples ushering princesses into eternal sleep. A reference to the Cottingley fairies is one I can understand, since it was quite the sensation not too long ago. Although, it would be clear in the eyes of renowned Faeologists that the photographs are mere imitations. A pity that Sir Doyle was taken in by it. I ought to take a break. The grading session today has left me quite a tangent. My beloved Oz. Wow. It's like a little moth fairy. I suppose having a fairy companion does give one an advantage in identifying genuine fairies. Augustine. I'd say a break is in order, wouldn't you, Oz? Oz responds through trills that I've learned to interpret over the decades I've known them. The Cottingley fairies again? Yes, and Princess's eternal slumber due to poisoned apples. We don't care much for human princesses. But making poisoned apples is rather an easy feat. Shall I turn one of them into a toad in front of the whole class to show that fae folk is capable of more than that? At the same time showing them that all fairies are a friendly bunch. I can't help but chuckle at the thought of that. I believe some might just quit the same day if you do that. Besides, if other Faeologists get a hold of your existence, who knows what they'll do to you? Chances are high that those people will try to pin you to a corkboard and vivisect you. And vivisect you. Oh no, you don't want to get vivisected. I would never let that happen. I've always appreciated you pursuing Faeology to ensure that. It's the least I could do. We've known each other since I was 7. You've saved me countless times since then. Well, you could have let me bleed to death when you found me. I would never! I can hear a delightful melody of chirps laced with a touch of whimsy, which makes me feel a tad fizzy. The game is bugged. No, it's a fairy. It's not a bug, Morgansta. It's a fairy. Welcome in, Morgansta. Hope you're doing well. I'm gonna raise this volume up. It's got a nice little calm music right now. Bug! It's a fairy! It seems that even the laugh of a fairy possesses some magical quality. While you're on break, isn't there something else on your agenda this afternoon? Right, Mr. Henkel's letter. Thanks for reminding me. I retrieved the letter from a patron from a desk drawer. I lean back on my chair and read the missive aloud to myself. It bugs you. It's over here now. Now we're looking at the missive. Dear Augustine, how long are you going to keep me in suspense? Will you or will you not accompany me to this year's Leos Gala? You could do a lot worse than forgetting your boring books for a moment in favor of whiling away an evening with champagne and canapes and invigorating company. And when I say invigorating, I am not speaking of those old sods with deep pockets ready to be exploited by way of funding grants for your research. I'm speaking, of course, of yours truly. Do write to me sometime before Saturday. That's tomorrow's date, isn't it? Oh, I know. My delay in responding is entirely by design, I assure you. I'd hate to be getting the looks from the crowd like I'm a wet blanket. Good evening, Pamst. Hope you're doing good. I'm doing well, thank you. Hope you're doing well, too. We're playing through a few visual novels right now, and then we'll be checking out some action-packed games later on. Faeology isn't worth my dough, they'd say. Oz's replying chirp is decidedly indignant. I nod to Oz in agreement before returning to Mr. Henkel's letter. In other news, I've heard that little Ruthie Blythe caused a minor ruckus in the city's hottest speakeasy. If your old friend Detective Krause hasn't been in that area at the time as well, who knows what could have happened? I find myself rather perturbed at this revelation. I would have telephoned Ruthie and asked what the story was, like when we were children. However, for better or for worse, we aren't on friendly terms anymore. I resume reading my patron's letter. Speaking of the detective, have the two of you been keeping in contact? He gave me the cold shoulder when I crossed paths with him at last week's benefit. I couldn't help assuming that his persistently frosty treatment of me might have had something to do with you. It's unfortunate that the extensive bonds you have with him should end in a rather bitter state. As you have told me more than once, when it was good, there is nothing else quite like it. Yet, you speak very little of him now, and I find myself wondering if he still holds a place in that guarded heart of yours. The letter is signed, Yours Everlasting, Oscar Henkel. Well, I've kept Mr. Henkel waiting long enough. I press a pen to a fresh sheet of paper to commence crafting a response. Just then, a familiar rhythmic rapping pierces the silence. I glance in the direction of Oz, but they're nowhere to be seen. Oz must have camouflaged himself in a heartbeat. I put Mr. Henkel's letter in the drawer before calling out. Come in, Minnie. Hello. My assistant enters the office. She's careful to snap the door shut behind her. Professor. Yes, Minnie? Minerva. Were you talking to yourself again? That's right. You know me. I see. Sometimes I wonder what she must have thought while hearing the mumbling sounds of me speaking with Oz. But she knows when not to poke her nose into things. One of the things I like about her, and also what makes her the bee's knees when it comes to being an assistant. I'd hate to be the bearer of bad news, but he's here. Who? The police detective from the newspapers. Police detective? Even as I echo these two words, there's a sinking feeling in my stomach. You know, the man who made you crumple the papers and toss them into the trash bin? In the end, we had to stop our subscription for the dailies. Detective Theodore Krauss? Yes, that's the one. Knowing Theo is here makes my world go momentarily off kilt. It's as if, by the magic of the fairy tales I malign, the ink in my patron's letter has manifested him into the reception area. The police! It's the detective! Can't you tell I'm out delivering a lecture on the far side of campus or something? That depends. Is a lie like that going to deter this man? An astute question. She is truly wise beyond her years. Probably not. He'd happily traverse the entire campus just to torment me, I'm guessing. All right, let him in. With a brisk nod, Minnie returns to the reception area. I barely have time for a steadying breath before Theo barges in. Detective, Detective Hive. The detective. He drops a box on my desk right off the bat. What is this? Why is he in my office? Well, well, look who the cat dragged in. Not even a how do you do? What? Do necessities suddenly mean something to you? I seem to recall you packing your bags and moving out without so much as a goodbye. There was no one to say goodbye to. Didn't you find out I left only a few days later? At least it made it easier for you to leave, didn't it? There's a tinge of hurt in his voice that I'm only able to pick up because we lived together for several months. As my mouth struggles to catch the words hanging in the air, I feel a piercing, icy silence creeping in. I ought to break the silence before I freeze. What's in the box? He lets out a deep sigh that sounds rather like relief. Your things that somehow you didn't take with you when you left. Even that oddly crafted handkerchief you loved so much. Detective, it's Batman! The handkerchief was a gift for you. I see the corner of his mouth twitch. He's lying. What should I do with this information? Reach out for the box to check. Respond in disbelief. Sure, let's look at this. I quickly stretch out my hand to the box, yet he is just as fast in catching my wrist before I can open it. I withdraw my hand from his grip swiftly, like a startled bird soaring into the sky. That truly caught me off guard. I'd forgotten what his hand feels like. I was only kidding. Dani-san yonpasu irashaimase. O genki desu ka? Today we're playing a few visual novels. I was only kidding, although you really haven't changed much, have you? You just went straight for it. He looks amused now. He sounds amused and slightly pleased, as if he just confirmed the accuracy of one of his deductions. Neither have you. I threw all of it away right after you vanished, he says with a subtle squint of his left eye, another lying tell of his. I can't help but sigh at his antics. I'm fine, Genki. Nani-san, ureshi. We are playing games from Southeast Asia. They're all a bunch of indie games made by developers from Southeast Asia. Of course you did. So, what's really in the box? Want to take a guess? I do have an idea. Knowing him, he'd sooner face the whole Al Capone gang by himself and take their bullets before coming to visit me. This must be way more important than our poignant history. Case evidence. I've seen boxes like this one before, but never one quite so large. It's a really big case, isn't it? He nods. The biggest of my career. And to come to me of all people, you must be at your wit's end about this. He looks away as if trying to hide how galling the circumstances at hand are. Truth be told, I'd rather face the whole Al Capone gang and take their bullets than have to see you again. Gee, that stings a little. So, why would you... Oh, hold on a minute. You think this has some sort of connection to fairies? He flicks his tongue in exasperation. Oh my, it seems I've hit the bullseye. We stopped talking about fairies at some point when we were still together. Those talks always led to a heated discussion and then into arguments because nothing I could say could change his skepticism toward my mystical beings. This is certainly the chance to tease him about it, though it might be unwise considering the emotional peril he must have gone through to get here. What's in the box? Is that a Seven reference? I don't think so. Apparently it's a case file. What should I do next? Tease him. Ask more about his thoughts. I know this makes it hard for you, but I can't help you if you don't say anything. He sighs. You're right. As difficult as it is to admit, the things you told me before about fairies and whatnot might have helped make sense of this case. But I have to say, for the sake of my sanity, I still don't believe they exist. Fair enough. He appears pleasantly surprised by my answer, as though he was expecting a quarrel right around the corner. Little did he know, I've learned that it's moot to try and explain the otherworldly beings to him. So, what makes this case so significant? Why do you think it relates to fairies? Are you even allowed to tell me? I hear the sound of a chuckle underneath a breath like a bolt from the blue. For a brief moment, his gaze on mine seems to revert to how it used to be, until the seriousness returns to his face. First things first, since I'm leading the investigation, I do have some discretion on what details to divulge and to whom. That is, if the confidant can bring value to the investigation. And I've known you for a fact that you can be discreet. Still, I must ask your sworn secrecy in this matter. You got it. So, tell me about the case. Why does it seem to be paramount? Why does it seem to be of paramount importance? It's a multiple murder case, potentially perpetuated by a single culprit. The victims are chiefly middle-aged women residing north of the city. They're from old money families, the types that make regular appearances at high society events. I guess this could be considered a fairy tale, but More guns to come back. I see. No wonder you're all tensed up. You're telling me. Chief took me off every other case and insisted I put all my time and effort into this. It's only a matter of time until the press catches wind and makes a circus of everything. And with some of the victims' peculiar manners of death. He pauses. This is where the fairies came in? He silently stares and then sighs. I swear I must be losing my mind. You've got this. Now he draws in a long, deep breath. 3 of the victims had a manner of death that the unit has never seen or heard of before. The strangest case is the one where the body seemingly hardened into bony tissue overnight. That doesn't sound pleasant. Sudden ossification. The artwork is pretty though. Isn't the artwork nice? It's really haunting though. Her corpse almost looked like a carved wooden statue. Oh, I've heard of something like that before. Of course you have. I frown at him. Don't start now. He clears his throat abashedly. Without finding out what caused these deaths, and more importantly, who did this, the press could spin the stories out of control. I don't want to imagine the look on the victims' families' faces if and when the papers are making a razz of these poor women's deaths. Besides, what kind of depraved, sick dude goes around taking out women in such a way? The city's already running on fumes. Crime's becoming more rampant day by day. People shouldn't have to look over their shoulder every night. It's no way to live. Even as he lapses into silence, I say nothing. It's not just the city. The rise in crime is bleeding him dry too. Yet, I am unsure of what words could soothe those who are fighting it on the front line. I've never been where they are. The frown lines between his eyebrows grow deeper. You know, considering the victim's background, having these murders being exaggerated in newspapers would pressure the families to insist on closing the case as soon as possible. No matter the cost. No matter who's to blame. You're right. Innocent people are going to bear the brunt for this. This is a terrible situation. I feel my stomach churning. My arms cross on instinct, trying to hold my own disquietude in place. Is there anything you can do? I'm just one man. Try as I might, I can't keep those rotten police brass from lining their pockets. Nothing but a pack of lowlifes in high places. He exhales sharply, his voice laced with contempt. Then, he fell into silence yet again. Similarly, words seem to have abandoned me, as I can't shake this feeling of helplessness crawling under my skin. After a minute, he meets my eyes once more. Well, you're a good listener. Better than most. He curls his lips into an almost smile. I don't mind at all. Thanks. He clears his throat once more. Thank you, Rico. All right, let's get down to brass tacks. This box includes case files, crime scene photos, a couple of blood samples, which I was able to request to bring to you, and several other pieces of evidence. Other than the strange manners of death I've said, forensics was puzzled too by the blood samples. How so? One of them doesn't contain iron. That's interesting. Nothing surprises you, does it? Well, about this peculiarity, I'd bring up something from my fairy books, but you'd always find a way to deny it. You're right about that. I'm still investigating the possibility of unknown drugs or poison that somehow causes these oddities. But I'd be a fool to not go after my hunches and look into all possibilities. What about robbery? It's ruled out. No fingerprints, no evidence of breaking in. Nothing had been stolen. And motives? Revenge? We're still interviewing the city elites, looking for the possible motives. But it takes time. You know how it is. Yes, of course. They're very busy. Speaking of city elites, I know people who can be very helpful in getting some inside information. His expression turned sour at full tilt. Who? That man? I said people, but yes, that man would be particularly helpful in this matter. He scoffs brazenly and doesn't even try to hide it. Even at the first meeting with Mr. Henkel, there was some inexplicable tension between the two. Theo said something about Mr. Henkel feeling off, and always hated it whenever I had something to do with him. Though it might just be jealousy in disguise. You know I'm right. Even if he's barely in the newspapers, he's most likely at the pinnacle of high society. And I don't think he'll mind if I ask him a few things about this. Why, of course. He's always got a soft spot for you. Heck, he's probably carrying a torch for you for a long time, judging by the way he follows you everywhere. Well, he happened to be interested in Faeology and has a lot of money to allow its development. Look at you, all ready to defend him. Wait, are you two an item now? I might have steered this reunion right back to where we were months ago by bringing up Mr. Henkel. But it was necessary to mention him. I don't know anybody else who could have that much information about high society. Besides, there has never really been anything, even if we did go to fundraising events together from time to time. It was strictly business. Yet again, Theo seems to lose his reason whenever we talk about Mr. Henkel. I don't have the time or the energy to argue with him. What should I do? Does it matter? You came here despite everything. You knew you got to do whatever it takes to solve this case. So do it. Wolfie, thank you for the raid. Welcome in, Raiders. How was the rest of your stream? Welcome in, Chaotic Fox. Welcome in, Wolfie. Welcome, Rico. Welcome in, Nuggy. Welcome, Raiders, to your party cheers. Soda-san, Udi-san. Welcome in, Raiders. Thank you all for welcoming our Raiders. For those of you who don't know Wolfie, please go check her out. She's a blue canine like me, and was just doing a special celebration of her affiliate anniversary. She was showing off her new model. It looks so cute. It's even got her little pet Bowser with her. And for anyone new, welcome in once more. My name is Owlin. I'm a blue dog who likes to give you a cozy place to be. I play through a variety of games and try to showcase things you might not have seen before. Right now we are playing through Death and Faeology. It is a murder mystery visual novel based in the roaring 1920s. And it has fairies. But yeah, we're doing a special stream to celebrate and uplift indie developers from Southeast Asia. I hope you all enjoy your stay here with us. It was fun. We just had a yappy stream today. I'm glad you had a good time. I know it was nice to be able to drop by and see your new model. Thank you again for the raid. I really appreciate it. Please go get some water. Oh my gosh. Like, chatty streams can definitely be very dehydrating. Also, Al is only 13 followers away from her goal. If you're new here, perhaps consider following. Rico, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Yeah, we are hoping to hit 4,000 followers before the end of the year, so if you like the vibes you see here, I'd super appreciate a follow, and then that way you will know when I come back online. Kaboom! Maybe. Yes, Rico, kaboom. Agreed. I was sipping my water the entire time. It's more than usual. Good. Good. Because I feel the same way right now. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's a lot of reading. But it's really cool. I love doing visual novels. But Wolfie, if you gotta do some post-stream self-care, please do. I really appreciate the raid. And congrats again on your affiliate anniversary. And for everyone else, if you just want a nice little place to vibe, we more than welcome you here. Thank you, Rico. Let's do a few more lines here and then we'll go on to our next game. He is taken aback by what I said and plunges into his own thoughts. I swear one of these days you'll be the end of me. Fine. Just make sure he can keep it under his hat. I sigh in relief. I will. While we're on the subject of useful allies, you mentioned before about the blood that doesn't contain iron. I can take a blood sample to the university's chemist. She's good at what she does. And she's from a rich family. She might know some of the victims or their families at least. I'll trust your judgment. I take it this is you agreeing to help with the case. That's right. There are lives at stake. He lets out a soft smile as though in quiet agreement about what I said. Thank you. Have fun showcasing indie games. Thank you, Wolfie. Also, Tatsuya, welcome in again. Alright, we do need to move on to our next game. We are packed today with roughly 10 indie games to showcase. So, I want to say thank you to Mushroom Mallow for providing us access to Death and Faeology. If you're interested in checking out this game for yourself, and you're here watching live, you can look at this link in the chat. And if you're watching the VOD, I will put a link in the VOD description below, where you can check out the game as well. They have a pretty good, I think, setup coming up here. It's like, we're going to be able to do some investigations, and apparently it's high society, so very interested to see where they're going to go with it. I want to see more of our little fairy pal, too. Oz was really cute looking. Alright, we do need to move on to the next game, so let me go ahead and get that ready for us.